Welcome to the Thrive TV show with Lauren Parsons, helping you boost your health, energy, and productivity.
Welcome to Thrive TV, helping you boost your health, energy, and productivity. My name's Lauren Parsons. It's great to have you with us today. And today I'm excited because we are joined by Sarah McVanel. Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you. So glad to be here.
Oh, so great to have you with us. So Sarah is the Chief Recognition Officer at Greatness Magnified. And today we're talking about how recognition fuels peak performance, both at work and at home. So this is going to be amazing for all of you in your personal lives and in your professional lives as well. We're looking at three key things, which is how recognition is the single easiest and most accessible way for you to invigorate your relationships, both personally and professionally. Sarah's going to teach us why leaders can't perform at their peak without leveraging the exponential power of recognition, and also how the highest performing workplace cultures and company cultures make recognition a cornerstone. But before we get into all of that goodness, we're going to go through this and that question so you can get to know Sarah a little more. So Sarah, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Perfect. So tell me, are you a cat or a dog person?
Dog.
Dog, okay, nice. Would you like to be invisible or able to read minds?
Ooh, invisible.
Be invisible, okay.
I want to know what people are thinking all the time.
I'm with you on that. I'm the same, yeah. Logical or creative?
Creative.
Creative, yeah, beautiful. Would you rather be lost on a mountain or lost on a deserted island?
Mountain.
Mountain, okay. You can ski your way down. A serious one here, boiled, fried, or poached eggs?
Poached.
Poached, yes, me
so
too.
Many more sauces to put on it.
True. Next one is, would you rather do a popular pre-made travel tour or build your own itinerary from scratch?
Pre-made tour.
Let
the experts guide me around.
Okay, perfect. Burgers or pizza?
Pizza.
Pizza, nice. Rather buy a Ferrari or a Lamborghini?
Neither.
I'm the same. I thought that was an interesting question. Yeah.
Give the money to charity, for heaven's sakes. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. Cake or chocolate?
Cake.
Cake, nice. And city or countryside?
Oh, well, I live in the country, so I'm going to say country.
Yeah, I thought that would be your answer, but yeah, great. Oh, nice to get to know you a little more. So tell you a bit more about Sarah. Sarah helps leaders to leverage the exponential power of recognition to retain top talent. She jokes that it's the only lane that really pulls together her BA in psychology, her MSc in family relations, her certifications in organizational development, coaching, HR, and healthcare admin. She left her senior leadership position in 2014 to launch her boutique firm, Greatness Magnified. She's authored some books, she's been vlogging, she's been tap dancing and getting so good with her hubby, Mark, and her kids, Justin and Simone. So it's so great to have you with me today, Sarah. So first I want to ask you, just how did you get started doing what you're doing now?
Well, the recognition component has always been a part of my life. I think I was always that kid that couldn't laugh at somebody if they fell down and they hurt themselves. But really when I started to get into the field of organizational development and we would do intensive team consultations, when I say we, it started off as me, but then when I was a manager, I had a whole team that I was working with. And even the most difficult situation that we would face, any team that really had lost hope that anything could be better, if we started with self-recognition and recognition of each other, we could gain momentum very quickly. And all the other things that we tried, it would take multiple meetings, many months. It was resource intensive, and it didn't always have sustainable results. So from a professional standpoint, I just knew it worked. And then when I decided to write a book with my co-author, somebody that I worked with in this role, in this capacity, we decided to go and validate it and went to an engagement survey company called Metrics at Work here in Canada. And I guess they were probably waiting for a nosy blonde to want to poke around their 250,000 survey data points. I'm sure they're just waiting for the opportunity to have something else to do. And we had them run an analysis of all that data to say, is what we're seeing at the front line doing this work with teams actually true? And sure enough, when they look at the top most satisfied teams with recognition and compare them to the least, dramatic, statistically significant differences, and things that people on your podcast, on your video TV, will care about. Things like trust in the organization, satisfaction with leadership, and we know people leave bosses, right? Not organizations or positions, more so. Things like intention to stay, overall engagement, and continuous improvement. So we've got the data, we've got the lived experience, and frankly, I just feel better when I'm helping people focus on something they can do immediately, differently, no matter how complex, challenging their environment is or burnt out they are.
Amazing. So important. I totally believe in this philosophy. Recognition, I think, is key. And I've always said it's one of the best, parenting strategies, management strategies, relationship strategies to give positive, specific praise and feedback. So I noticed that you mentioned two words that you talked about: self-recognition and recognition. Can you give us kind of a definition or explain what you mean by those two things?
Well, it's I like to liken it to it's a scaffolding approach, and it's going to sound perhaps a bit pop psychology, but I think we can all relate. If you don't recognize your own greatness, it's going to be so much more work to try to find it and see it in other people, and that's where recognition isn't sustainable. So if you recognize yourself and you can acknowledge all your foibles as well as your strengths, the things that you have and who you are when you're at your best, and really try to operate from that place, then you naturally begin to notice it all around you. And I'll have people, after I do a keynote, tell me that they think that people are doing greater things around here. They're putting in more effort. They're working harder. Well, perhaps part of that is true. If they're being validated, yes, they're probably giving you more discretionary effort. But also, the other half of the equation is it's been happening all along. And I think one of the greatest things leaders can do for peak performance, to encourage more of it, is to notice and acknowledge the extraordinary in the ordinary, because people are doing amazing things all the time. We're just so busy and distracted and frankly a bit burnt out to sometimes notice that, which is, to your point around parenting, it fits with families as well as, of course, in the boardroom.
Yeah, so it's about paying attention, isn't it? I think it's about being super intentional to catch people doing things right. And I think often, whether it's parenting or in a work setting, we're sometimes wanting to modify or change someone's behavior or lead someone in a different direction. And we know that trying to hit it face on, saying you need to do that, is never going to work. Whereas when we can praise to the positive and praise people, even if they're making an effort towards the direction we want them to head in, thanks, honey. I like the way that you got your washing almost into the basket in the laundry. Next time, if you could get it right, and that would be so great. It's such a big help to me. Just, I don't know if those sort of examples, just, a positive praise in the work scene as well. It's one of the most significant things that makes a difference. I know that you're quoted as saying that leaders cannot perform at their peak without leveraging this exponential power of recognition. So what makes you so certain?
Well, as a professional certified coach, working with people to be able to notice differently, you were saying earlier about paying attention, and I totally agree. It's around your intention, how you show up in your work environment. And I'll give folks a challenge is notice the next time you see something that's working, that is deserving of acknowledgement. And you can say it, you can think about it, you can write it down, whatever you want to do with that. But my challenge to you, client who is struggling to believe that anything is working and that there's greatness anywhere. And again, often that comes from a place of them not actually seeing it themselves first, but that's fine. If we're looking at your concern about your team or the performance around here, just notice if just anything that's working. And they'll come back to me and they'll say, I can't believe how many things I was able to acknowledge in a week. And even if their intention was just to write it down, they can't help but acknowledge it in other folks. So I've seen it happen even with folks who feel utter hopelessness and frustration about what is going on in their environment. The other thing I say to people, I'm sure you've had this too, where people are what's holding them back from peak performance is that they feel that there's a lot of negativity, gossip, tension, toxicity, and then we zone in on that. We put so much of our focus on all of those things and see there's more evidence of that. See, it's getting worse. As opposed to what my co-author and I talk about in our book is, well, what if in fact a complaint report merely a poorly worded request? So you get to almost be a personality scavenger hunt, sort of, have that kind of mindset of being curious about it. Can you see something that they're doing, that person that's negative complaining, that's working? Or if your team is struggling, every time they get together, they're frustrated. What if you started by asking, what's one thing that worked over the last week in this team? And just have them tell you, be perhaps shocked and awed and amazed that they can find something.
And it's so good when you lead people towards those positives, isn't it? Like I often ask or invite people to discuss or bring up the question, what's been the best thing about your day? We just started a meeting the other day, and people were sitting individually isolated in the audience, and we had 5 minutes before we started. So I just said, this is the informal greeting. My name's Lauren. We're going to get started soon, but why don't you just stand up, walk around, and just ask them, what's been the best thing about your day? I put a bit of background music on, and suddenly we had 20 people standing up. It looked like a party was going on. They were just all chatting. And sometimes we just need that leading direction. And in a parenting example, we ask, what was the best thing about your day around the dinner table? And it gives us all the chance to relive it as well as share it with each other. So I love it.
So you'll love this. This is the habit that around our dinner table, it's something that my 15-year-old son and I do. And you know how negative we often speak about the teenage years. The number of times people would stop me as I have a screaming baby in my cart, and they'd say, oh, just you wait, enjoy it while it lasts. I'm thinking, really? Do I have to enjoy the screaming? So, when they're teenagers. But here I am in the teenage years. I've got a 15-year-old, a 13-year-old. So my son, who's the 15-year-old, we do the claps, 10 claps every day. And it came out of, there was some challenging things that were happening. I've been traveling a lot. It's been a bit of an adjustment period this fall. And we just decided when it kind of hit a breaking point, I think we should do this. We should try to find 10 things that are positive every day. And we turned it into this new ritual that him and I do. And we both hold each other accountable. So let's say you and I are doing it, Lauren, and he always kicks it off. And so he'll say, I got all my homework done at school. Awesome. High five. And then I'll say something in my day. And we don't have to come prepared. We don't have to know what are our 5 things. And we'll sometimes we'll go, I know I have something else. And the other way in which we hold ourselves accountable is if we've said something negative, then we have to take away a clap. So this is how we take away a clap. And then we have to come up with 2 things our next turn. Nice. It has been such a wonderful way to either talk about the dinner table or end our evening, because we do not go to bed unless we've done it. Even though I'm going away for traveling tomorrow for work, we're going to do it over the phone. We've already agreed to it, or texting if we really can't get on the phone with each other. It is such an amazing way to reconnect and to refocus on what's positive. And what my son has said to me is, I can't believe how many great things I didn't even notice were happening in my life by focusing on this. I'm like, a 15-year-old's thinking this, And I'm not saying he's like deep like Gandhi. He is the average 15-year-old boy. And so when you intentionally notice it and you have an accountability, a ritual around that, I mean, honestly, he is performing better in school this week and having better in relationships this week because of this new habit that he's created.
I love it.
If that's not peak performance of evolution, I don't know what is. Right?
Yeah, no, that's perfect. And I'm going to share that story and talk about you and your son, if that's all right with you, because that's such a beautiful example. I love it. Yeah, and it's amazing just that focus on the positive, because often if we do that default question is, how was your day? It's like, good. What did you do? Nothing. We don't get. But again, in the workplace, imagine if we started meetings by saying, what's been the best thing that's happened this week or this month? I used to work at a place where we gave out gold stars. We put them on a chart on the wall, and each of us would have the opportunity to give 1 gold star to another member of the team and to state exactly what it was for. So it was immediate specific praise. And of course, not everyone likes public praise, but because it was set up and it was intentional and it was open for everyone, it really was powerful. And at the end, I think once we got 10 stars, there was actually a reward as well. But the most powerful thing was the impact that it had during the week in between. And you would sort of see someone do something and you'd say like, whoa, that's gold star, behavior right there. And so pay attention, like your antenna would be up to look for it. So I love it. So
my version of that is frogging. So this is my little frog back here, right?
Yeah,
so
tell us about frogging.
Yeah. So, well, first of all, I want to frog you right now, Lauren, because you have such a beautiful, authentic energy. And I'm sure everyone who's listening would say that is why they keep tuning in. They get huge value from you. You are a true servant leader, and you're just such a delight to hear your intonation of your voice, but also what you have to say and what you're trying to do in the world. So that's frogging, right? And I authentically mean that. And so, I'll joke with folks when I'm doing a keynote and just say, because if you haven't lived until you've told a perfect stranger, I have to frog you. And then they'll have one of two reactions. That will be one of them.
Yes.
The other one could be they look at you with this concerned look on their face, like, I need to call security right now. But, because I believe in living dangerously, I will, risk it. So people have suggested I should perhaps have a lawyer on retainer, but anyway, that's fine. But really it's the exponential part that we're talking about is when you surprise recognize somebody. So the person who's been working late on a project and is your top performer, sending dinner home to their family and writing and having the driver with a card that says, thank you so much for making sure that Glenn can stay behind. We know it's challenging on the family. We just want to say how much we appreciate it.
Yeah.
Or,
wow.
Putting a note on somebody's desk and they're out at a meeting, and when they get back to their desk or their cadenza, it's sitting there on their computer that says, thank you for going back to bat for me yesterday in the meeting. I can't tell you how much that means to me, and I'm still thinking about it today.
Yeah.
It's the surprise factor, and I don't mean shock factor as in make somebody uncomfortable. Like, okay, stand up on stage here with me, Glenn, when he's very much an introvert and that's going to freak him out. I just mean, finding a way to acknowledge somebody that it's the intention you want. And then this is the thinking pattern behind it is there a way just to make it even more authentic, lasting, memorable, aligned to that person? And in fact, if people want a tool to be able to understand how people want to be recognized best, that platinum rule, treat me the way I want to be treated. They are welcome to go to my website, Greatness Magnified, under cool stuff. In other words, free. There's a tool called a recognition assessment. And so if you filled it out, Lauren, you might say, yes, I want public recognition and team recognition. And somebody else might say, I want a gift card and I want it to be private. Please never recognize me in public. Yes. So that way you can customize it and you can share the results as a team, so that people are acknowledging each other the way they want to be recognized. So it's just an idea, because that's one of the roadblocks or the challenges, the mental roadblocks people have on their mind sometimes about recognition and why they don't think it helps with peak performance, is that maybe they've tried to recognize somebody, it didn't land, and then they say, I'm not good at this, or
and then they stop because they're worried it's just going to have that same thing. We actually used to, in the organisation I worked with many years ago, we had a staff form that we would fill out as part of, all the different paperwork you fill out when you start. And part of it was specifically for this purpose. We would write down what our favourite brand of perfume was, what our favourite cafe was, what our favourite band was, like favourite song or music, and just a whole list of different things that would then go to our manager. And I think to enhance it, you could also say, do you like to be recognised in public? Do you like to be recognised in private? Because I think those things are key distinctions to me. And so, I received a pair of my favorite shoes from my boss one time because I'd worked really hard on something and we did phenomenally well. And that was so meaningful and special because it was the exact pair of shoes that I liked. And, it's just things like that. It sets people up, because otherwise you end up with staff members with bottles of wine they don't drink, or movie tickets and they don't like going to the movies, or whatever it is. But imagine the power of that, a dinner being delivered to the family, and what it means for all of the relationships that support that key team member. I just love it. I can see, like you say, it's exponential. It's just going to create this huge ripple effect.
And you don't need a lot of money necessarily. Like, ask the questions of what you can do. So, let's say because they had asked your favorite song and you're coming up to receive an award, play your favorite song as you're getting the award. Absolutely. And you may not put two and two together at the time, but you're like, oh my gosh, that's my favorite song. And you may make the connection, but that's the paying attention to what matters for that person. Or you can say, did you know that Lauren not only likes Guns N' Roses, blah, blah, it's like, it's kind of like that fun exercise you did with me at the beginning. Yeah. And it personalizes it. And actually on that form that I was sharing with you, we asked things like, what's your favorite pizza toppings? And how do you like coffee or tea? And what do you like in it? I can remember having a staff member who was working so hard on a project that was frustrating her. And I brought her green tea with half a cream and a sweetener, which, I mean, who would drink a tea like that? She's the only person in the world. But I brought it to her and I said, thank you so much for working so hard and just really slogging through this. And it meant more to her that it was the way she liked it than had I just come in and I said, I really appreciate that you're working really hard. Because she was a hard worker and she always would work hard. That didn't really, for one person saying thank you for working hard they would really appreciate it. For somebody else, it's just like, well, that's what everybody does, isn't it? And of course that wasn't what everybody did. And we're in the team. But it's those little things. And I've worked in not-for-profits until I work for myself. I've worked in not-for-profits my whole world and my whole career. And I had to find ways to do this and teach people ways to do this that cost nothing or virtually nothing.
Yes.
Playing somebody's favorite song or printing off a quote or writing them a Post-it note or texting them something.
Yeah, and even just taking a pen and paper and writing a handwritten card or a letter. We used to, as a college I used to work at when I was lecturing at the New Zealand College of Fitness, and we would ask all of the students what their favourite songs were, and then we would make up playlists for each class so that we then had their favourite music playing in all the breaks and before and after class just to set the atmosphere. And we would also write what we called 5 happy letters every week. So we would choose 5 different people to write a letter to, and we would mail it and post it out. And it's just the most amazing thing. It reminds me of Sean Aker. You may know of his TED Talk, The Happy Secret to Better Work, where he talks about, it's not success that leads to happiness, but it's actually happiness, having your mind in positive as opposed to negative, neutral, or stressed, that leads to more success. And he talked about a 2-minute intervention, that if you just start your day by spending only 2 minutes to write an email or a text message to a colleague, friend, or a family member, praising and thanking them for a specific thing. And he said, not only do you get to go around the rest of the day going, I'm so cool, I'm one of these people that actually does this stuff, but they'll actually reply and reciprocate, and they don't know about the 2-minute rule. So they'll just end up writing you this really long emails saying how great it is and what a difference it makes, because it is so much more motivating than even a pay rise. Just getting these sort of small things of recognition can be so much more motivating, because we're human beings and that's how we really connect. Yeah.
And what I'm hearing from you in that, what it sounds like was really impactful about hearing that message about him is the fact it's consistent, the fact that it is intentional, and the fact that he starts his day that way. When this past spring, I had a lot of folks who were connecting and sharing on social media about how they're really struggling. And I thought, what can I do? I can't go out and I can't reach everybody. I can't talk to everybody, but I'm seeing this and there's a pattern. What can I do? And I think that, the Sean Archers of the world would, and of course, the Lauren Parsons of the world too, think in terms of this. What can I do? What impact can I make? And so started a Facebook group called Great Happy People, of which you're a part of.
Yes, and everyone needs to join.
Yeah. And really the intention was a non-salesy, positive only place. And when I ask people, why do you belong? Or what's the most important thing you get out of the group? It's very much tied to what you just said. They'll say, this is how I start my day now. I used to scroll through Facebook, the posts, and then I compare myself. Or I would just get up and get out of bed and I would check my emails, and that wasn't positive. Instead, I'd go out and I look just at this page, which I know is never going to have sales or promotions. It's just going to be positive, maybe a motivational video, quote, something, and it'll just put me in the right frame of mind. So we went from nothing in, I think it was May when I started this. We have over 3,300 members from around the world now. People need more of this positivity in their life. And so when it comes to peak performance, who do you think is going to be the peak performer? The person who's thinking, how am I going to get through my day? Or what can I do to motivate my day? And how can I start my day in a way that I feel inspired and energized?
So why is it that recognition leads so directly to peak performance? Can you explain that piece of the puzzle for people that are perhaps not convinced? This is not just fluff and excitement. Like, can you explain the science or why this is so powerful?
Yeah. And actually, it's funny that you say that, because I wrote an article for an HR magazine called Why Recognition is Not Fluffy Stuff, for this very reason, because there's people who don't quite see how there's science behind it. Well, one reason is I've shared with you some data. about that. And I do a lot of partnership work with the Great Place to Work Institute as well. We actually have a toolkit that's coming out in the new year that actually demonstrates the connection of not just a better employee experience, but also actually a better customer experience too. So that's coming. People can look for that, those people who follow the Great Place to Work Institute. But also though, if you think about psychology, so that's my roots, is psychology theory. All psychology theory is rooted in understanding when humans are at their best, when humans are able to learn. If you are in the educational psychology realm, what will allow people to learn at their best? If you are a humanistic psychology, how do people achieve their full potential? If you look at conditioning, what allows people to change their behavior, or animal salivating a cup, whatever version of that. All psychology is really, it's based in understanding that what does success look like, some various form. And consistently, no matter what school of psychology you come from, when people feel valued, acknowledged, appreciated, respected, heard, they do their best work. When we don't, when we isolate, when we don't share our ideas, when we don't ask for help, when all of these key elements that come out when we have cultures where recognition is present. I know people think I'm doing a good job. I see other people when they are doing a good job. We want together to do the best job we can. Our customers feel that we're doing a good job and they want to keep working with us. I mean, there's a good financial, there's a link economically to companies who do better when they have healthy cultures, of which recognition is a key foundational element of that. And so, I mean, the evidence is everything from fundamentals of psychology to if you looked at the health research around if people are dieting and they're trying to get fit, what works better, punishment or recognizing and rewards and milestones. I mean, it's in every body of literature out there. Yes. That when people feel valued, acknowledged, appreciated, and are celebrating successes along the way, that they perform better.
Absolutely, yeah. And I mean, I could go on about the dieting and the fitness thing. It's just
then.
so
Yeah.
important. But no, just for so important for people to focus on the positive, I think, because often we come at that sort of thing in terms of trying to improve our health and well-being by looking at, what do I need to cut out? What can I not eat? And being in
why haven't I been able to get the weight off? Or yeah.
And so when we focus on the positive of getting more good food into our diet, it naturally helps to reduce down the things that perhaps aren't so helpful, and it's a much more sustainable approach. So coming back to businesses though, because you talked about recognition being a real foundation. So what is it that the businesses that you've worked with, or organizations that do have this as their cornerstone, what is it that you see them doing differently?
Mm-hmm. Well, they genuinely care and ask for people's opinions and ideas. And I don't just mean suggestion box that are really dusty and nobody opens them, nor do I even mean that, okay, well, we've got 5 minutes slotted left over in the agenda. Does anybody have anything to say? This is that it's intentionally built into a premium part of the discussion, whether it's at a team meeting, people bring people together. One of the habits of a top performing organization, I just was doing some speaking for the senior leaders of very profitable branch of a large multinational company. They were in the hospitality sector. Hospitality is known for chewing people up, spitting them out. I know from having survived the hospitality sector.
Yes, me too.
Yes, we're all survivors probably. That the president of that organization writes, he disciplines himself to write at least 10 thank you cards every single week. He puts them on his desk. He has his administrative assistant on Monday morning, put them on his desk. It's a premium spot on his desk. He must, by the end of Friday, have written them all. And if it's been a stressful week, or he's had a lot to do, or he's been traveling, they're still sitting there. And if for whatever reason he's not been in the office, he still has his assistant bring in another 10. So now he's got 20 to write. He is every single week producing 10 thank you cards. So what I gave him, because I was so impressed with what he did, I had to frog him. And so I gave him these frog tribute cards where we asked, my co-author and we asked people, what is the best compliment you've ever received? Or what would be the best acknowledgement you could get? If you got the best acknowledgement tomorrow, what would it be? So we crowdsourced these and we wrote 52. So I gave him a deck. So these are deck of 52. he used them up within a week. So this is already a top performing CEO of a top performing branch of a top performing company, and has this habit of 10. He's gotten rid of 52 cards in a week.
Wow, great. He's
Right?
already got the culture, because he's already got that mindset that he's already tuned in. He's got his antenna up to look for the good and to be able to reach out. And I think we're very similar in this, that I also am someone who just loves encouraging people. I'll be like, oh, look at that beautiful scarf you have. I just naturally want to verbalize. But I think culturally, somehow it's perhaps, I'm not sure why it is that we don't always do those things. Sometimes we think them, but we just keep them to ourselves. And I think it's interesting seeing the trends now and the impact that social media is having, and the comparison game we play, that sometimes we just feel like everyone else is so much happier than us, and it is bringing people down. And we do need to make a point of going out, and when we think these positive things, and notice them, to actually act and speak out, because you never know what someone is going through on any given day. And I just think the power of kindness and giving back to people is just incredible, what it can do for people. It's not just their mental well-being, but for us as a society. Yeah,
I totally agree with you, because some of the people who receive, I think I give more frogs to people in the service industry than anyone else. Again, having perhaps survived it, maybe I'm just particularly into how challenging their life must be. But also, I think a lot of us see them as invisible, and they begin to feel invisible. And they're not invisible. We would not have the Starbucks coffees or the dinner or the clean bathrooms in the hotels we go to without these incredible people.
Yeah.
And it's so terrible. It's so unfortunate that that has become invisible. So
yeah, I always, whenever I go into the washrooms, bathrooms for those in New Zealand, I always like to make eye contact with and say thank you to someone that's cleaning them, because I'm so appreciative of that, because sometimes you are in public washrooms and they're not in the best state. And, so recognizing people for where they're at and what they're doing, I think is so fundamental to just what we should be doing as humans, connecting person to person. And I think that human connection is a key thing that we really need to cherish and grow right now, because we're so connected digitally that we're becoming more disconnected human to human.
Well, and I think that there's an amazing way we can intersect the employee experience with the customer experience. So a great example of this, I want to do a shout out to Weston, and I have no affiliate relationship with them. I've never actually done speaking work for them. I've just been in their hotels. I was in one of their beautiful resorts in Florida at a mastermind. Their cleaning staff were incredible, and it was gorgeous weather. I'm sure they would rather have been outside than doing what they're doing, but they're probably working hard for their family. So I just happened to come into the room midday. She was cleaning. She apologized for being there. And I'm like, you're doing your job. First of all, you're doing an amazing job. Thank you so much. This is a very large room. You've clearly always managed to prioritize it, because by the time I get back here at 4:00, it's always done. Thank you so much for what you're doing. So I frogged her. I gave her a little frog charm. She brought her to tears. She goes, I don't know when the last time she was acknowledged, certainly by a guest, but maybe, I don't know if she was acknowledged recently. And who knows, as you say, what's going on in her life. So I said, would you let me take a picture of you and tweet it out to Weston to say, hey, you've got a rock star here. Of course, more Niagara Falls, more tears, So anyway, so I took a picture of her, sent it out. Weston immediately tweeted back and said, we have amazing staff. Thank you so much for this. I think they also they tagged it to that particular resort. And then don't I, 2 weeks later, get a robe monogrammed with Sarah in the mail with a handwritten note.
Yeah, and totally unexpected as well. Totally unexpected, just over and above. Isn't that amazing? Yeah.
So exponential power, I'm sharing it on your interview here.
And now everyone that's watching is going, is feeling the love for Weston. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. And then it creates another positive and another positive. And it's that I talk about, creating a positive ripple in the world, because if there's one person that's watching this right now, you can actually go out and do this in your community, in your family, and create a positive. And so it's just going to continue on. And it's amazing that sometimes I think we feel very small in a very big world, but we can make change. Absolutely, we can. So thank you so much, Sarah. So I know that we could talk for hours and hours, but I would love to let people know how they can reach you if they want to find out more info. I know you mentioned the cool stuff. So where do we head to get your cool stuff, and anything else you'd recommend?
Sure. Well, they're welcome to come over to my website anytime, greatnessmagnified.com. And yes, there's lots of resources on there. And we also have a weekly vlog where we share some tips on recognition. It's in written format too. I have a social media channel, so people can find me on all the forms of social media, except Snapchat, of course, because I have been banned from that. That is apparently my children's format.
Yes.
And apparently people streak on it, so I don't really want to streak anyone. So yeah.
I'm not on Snapchat either. I was going to say, it's not that my children are, they're too young for that right now. But
Yeah.
yes, I'm there either.
Yeah. So they could just find me, Sarah McVanel, McVanel, on any form of social media. And I would love to hear about how people leverage recognition to retain top talent and create healthy workplaces and peak performance in their lives, because it just reinforces this community of practice of people who are going out and intentionally noticing and acknowledging great things. And I love when people share what's working in their organizations, because it inspires other people to try new things too.
Great. I love it. So there will be the links down below that you can click through and you can access more resources from Sarah. I just want to make sure that we covered off that frogging also stands for forever recognizing others' greatness. I don't know if you said that or not. Maybe I just knew it already.
Yeah.
So that people knew that, you got to go out and frog people. You got to go out and recognize others' greatness. So thank you so much again, Sarah, for all of your wisdom. It's been amazing. Thanks so much to you for watching. Go out and thrive. This has been another episode of Thrive TV. Great to have you with us, boosting your health, energy, and productivity. Go out and have a great day, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you for listening to the Thrive TV Show with Lauren Parsons. Visit thrivetvshow.com to access the show notes and discover our fantastic bonus content. And be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next inspiring episode.